started. Just so you all know, okay, I'm going to mute the meeting so we don't have all the feedback. I am recording the session, and we'll put this up on YouTube so that you can refer back to it if you want. And I'm sure there will probably be a few other people who join the session as we're talking. But we might as well get started since it's Sunday night, and I know you guys probably all have other things that you'd rather be doing right now, which I totally understand. We were just at a park with our small group at church, and I was like pointing at my watch like, Scott, we got to go to my husband, and we had to get all the kids in the car, and he had the brilliant idea of having our son ride his bike, so then I was worried about him getting home. So, but we're all situated now. Looks like a couple more people have joined. Okay, so, all right. Well, I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Jeannie Anderson, and I've been teaching this course for the Chicago School for 7 years now. It's gone through several revisions, and it gets better every time. It was really awesome when we first started, but it was tons of work, which is required to really work on writing issues, and yet not all that feasible for working people who are working on their master's degrees or doctorates and have this intense of a class on top of all their other responsibilities. So we over the last 7 years, the course has changed, and I really think that you're going to find that this is a useful course. It's designed to be user-friendly for working adults in grad school, and I do love teaching this class. I wish every Chicago School student took it because I think they could benefit for it, mostly because it's all lesson-based and then practice. And you're practicing using for the most part, your own writing samples, which means that you're practicing with your own writing and you're interacting with somebody else about your own writing. Even the best writers struggle in some areas. And I have to say, I've learned a lot about teaching grammar and APA style and teaching in general just by facilitating this seminar and working so closely with graduate students. So just a little bit about me. I was a journalism major at Illinois State, and I earned my master's degree in writing from DePaul University about, gosh, it was 2012 that I earned that. I also have a certificate of online teaching from University of Illinois. I've been teaching for 15 years, and I've been in distance learning for most of that time. So this is kind of interacting with students online is kind of my thing. I teach at 3 other community colleges in the Chicago area, and I have a Monday night class at Elgin Community College, and then everything else I teach is online. So I'm always at my computer grading something, answering an email, interacting, whatever. Before teaching, I had jobs in publishing, not-for-profit event planning, and corporate communications. And I married my high school sweetheart. We've been married for 19 years, and we dated for 8. And we have 4 children. My oldest, Alex, is in 7th grade, and he has mild autism, so there's a lot of challenges, I'm sure, as aspiring social workers. You guys probably have a little bit of understanding of some of the challenges that come with raising a child with autism. Our daughter Jory is in 3rd grade, and she's kind of a mini-me. She's really personable, probably a little more outgoing than I am even. And my husband and I, even back in college, always talked about how if we ever had any more than 2 kids, we'd probably want to adopt them. And so a year ago, we went through the licensing process, and last February, we welcomed 2 little girls into our home, and one is 7 and one is 6. These were girls that were separated and lived separately for 10 months until they were brought together under our roof. And so we've had the privilege of raising them for the last 6 months, and it is very possible that they may be available for adoption someday. So our family's active at our church, and we believe that becoming foster parents is just a way to live out our faith, and so that's what we do. So that's just a little bit about me. You can see I love teaching online. And okay, so why are you in this course? Some of you may be asking. You might have been surprised that you were placed in this class, and I certainly understand if you were mad or offended or just annoyed that you had one more thing on your plate. I totally get that line of thinking, and I might feel the same way in your position. However, I hope you all look at the class as an opportunity to sharpen skills that you already have. Academic writing is its own genre, and in this seminar we're going to examine the different specific rules to this genre. Grammar and foundations in writing are taught in elementary school, of course, but what I've learned from many undergrad students over the years is that a lot of grammar, punctuation, and style skills taught early on aren't covered very much in high school, and yet once you're in college, you're expected to be proficient in all these areas. And the same is obviously true at the graduate level. For example, in my first semester in graduate school, I failed my first paper because I had forgotten a lot of the fundamentals of academic writing. So I kind of did the paper wrong. And I was pretty devastated. I thought, my gosh, you know, this is my first class. This is one of my core classes. And I totally just bombed my first paper, as did about half my classmates. But with my instructor's guidance, I relearned a lot of those conventions necessary to be successful in this class, and I was able to get up to speed relatively quickly. So, so I do feel your pain. This class does give you an advantage because you'll be using the skills we review in this class throughout the rest of your graduate and doctoral programs, as well as in your profession. So I hope that you will view this class as a workshop and that the assignments in many ways are tailored specifically to your needs. My role as a facilitator is to consult with you on your writing habits and help you develop your writing in any way I possibly can. So this is a 7-week, 7-module online workshop. And the textbook is the publication manual of the APA style, and that's the 6th edition, which is the latest edition. And that was released in 2010. And I have a copy of this textbook on my Kindle, which is nice. But I'm sure if you don't already have it, that you'll be getting it soon because you'll need it throughout your coursework. And basically there will be short lessons and some readings for you each week on important topics. And then so you'll study the lessons and then you'll practice what you learned in the lessons in your weekly assignments. The due dates for the course are on Sunday evenings. Is that my next slide? No. At, I don't know, midnight if you really want to have a time. But I basically, since I teach a Monday class, I may grade some work on Monday, but really Tuesday morning is when I get on the computer and I say, okay, I got to get all my academic writing seminar stuff graded and feedback posted and all of that. So if you need an extra 24 hours to get assignments in for this course, please feel free to take that without emailing me. If you know you're going to get it in by Monday night, then you don't have to let me know. But if you think you're going to be a couple days later, just please keep me in the loop. Because otherwise I think, oh, am I going to get a bunch of stuff later? I kind of worry. And I like to know what's going to be on my plate each week because of my busy lifestyle with all the kids and all the jobs and all the life stuff that goes on. So just do me the courtesy of sending me an email and keeping me in the loop. So that would be great. The only exception is at the end of the semester is Sunday, October 18th, and I really try to post grades immediately on Monday. One, because the students who have completed the class want to just know that the paperwork is done. But I'm not going to lie, at the end of the semester how good you all feel when you finish a class, and I of course feel great when I am able to post final grades and put all my paperwork in a little folder and hide it in my drawer. So again, always keep me in communication. Last week I had one student that even by like Tuesday night I was like, he's got like a 90% in this class, and yet he has to turn in this final assignment to pass, and he didn't make the deadline. And he eventually turned it in, and I was able to, change his grade and everything, but nobody wants to deal with that. So if you could just finish up at the proper time, that would be great. So in order to pass the class, you do need to turn in every assignment, and you need to earn a cumulative 60 out of the 80 possible points. So it's not enough to have an A in the class and then blow off one assignment. You have to turn everything in. And this isn't my rule. This is the college's rule. And I'm accountable to my boss who has access to my class. And so I stick to that. If you need an extension, of course, please let me know. If you get too far behind, it defeats the purpose of taking the class. So I want you to succeed and pass the course, and you need the class to be diligent, or you need the class to graduate, so I hope that you will be diligent. All assignments must be in APA format, including a title page with a running head, headers, and if applicable, a reference page. And we do that so that you can continually practice that APA style. That is one of the complaints I think professors have had about the course over the years is if anything, you guys absolutely have to know how to set that up. And if they don't see that, they're going to wonder, well, why weren't they doing that in the academic writing course? That's the one major thing that they expect you to be able to do by the end of the course. So assignments are cumulative, so as each week progresses, I will be expecting you to exhibit all the skills you've learned in previous modules in your current writing. So I hope that you will check my feedback every week and then incorporate that feedback into the next assignment. There's really nothing, especially if you're using this the same writing sample week after week after week. There's nothing more frustrating for me than to see I've given you a bunch of feedback and none of those mistakes were corrected, and then yet you're still turning in the same piece of writing, and you're basically repeating the same mistakes, or not getting that you've made those mistakes. And so you want to make sure that if you're using the same writing sample multiple times, that you're doing all the editing you need to bring it up to par. Okay, so I want to go over the learning objectives for the course. The first being to become cognizant of the differences between the processes of thinking, speaking, and writing, and how these differences are reflected in the products of the three processes. So that talks about being a better thinker, speaker, and writer, and how that can only benefit you. And although there are differences, each of these three processes aid one another as a skill set. The next objective is to learn how to translate complete thoughts into complete sentences and how to enhance the reader's comprehension by varying sentence structure. And so the goal in academic writing is, of course, to be as clear and as concise as possible. You want to use precise and specific words, and you need to plan your writing in advance. You shouldn't think, compose, and edit your work all in one sitting. And instead, and I know this isn't always realistic, But for any writing project, if you can spend time thinking about what you want to write and maybe make some notes or do other pre-writing in one session and then draft your writing in another session and then step away from it, even if it's for a couple hours, and then continue to revise first those global ideas, and then when those are in place, do the final edit at the sentence level for grammar, structure, mechanics. That's really how you're going to have the most successful writing assignments. Having a fundamental understanding of punctuation, like semicolons and commas, is also important. You want to, are you using these correctly? Are you overusing them? Are you using the same sentence patterns repeatedly? The goal is to understand all these different concepts so that you can apply them to your writing. Because again, as clear and as concise as you can be is the goal, and as precise and specific in your word choice, that's a goal as well. So you want to make sure that you're keeping those factors in mind. Okay, so the next learning objective, become cognizant of the relationship between complex thoughts and complex sentences. Learn how to create outlines in basic sentences. And a basic sentence is a sentence that has just a subject and a verb. So it's a really short sentence. It's the meat of the sentence. And all other additional details, whether it be a prepositional phrase, an adjective or an adverb, something else, these details are left out of basic sentences. And if you're outlining a piece of writing in basic sentences, the goal is to get a fundamental view of the flow of ideas so that you can see where your ideas are lacking or need strengthening, or where your ideas are working well. The next couple of objectives, there's learn techniques for composing descriptions and arguments, and then learn to distinguish between different points of view and perspectives in writing, and to acknowledge them appropriately, and to learn techniques for avoiding unwitting plagiarism. And unintentional plagiarism is definitely a problem you want to avoid. There's a really helpful lesson that will help you better understand it. And I found that many students have a lot of misconceptions about what does and does not constitute plagiarism. And as the use of the internet has become more prevalent, as well as the copying and pasting of information found on various websites, the idea of plagiarism has become very skewed, probably over the last decade even. So you want to make sure that you have a very clear understanding of what plagiarism is and how to properly cite your source material. And then another objective, to review the relationship between meaning, structure, and punctuation, and to learn how to use punctuation marks appropriately. And not only using punctuation properly, but also using it effectively. Sometimes a period is more effective than a semicolon. It's not just about how to use a device correctly, but I want to teach you how to use it well. And then the last objective is to learn how to evaluate your thesis and argument and how to address possible objections to your thesis. And in graduate school, you'll be constantly defending your arguments. So being able to argue effectively is an asset in your field. We want to be able to form a good thesis statement, analyze our arguments, and also address the opposition. Okay, these are all parts of the class that we're going to explore, and hopefully you'll walk away with a solid understanding and some great skills that you can effectively apply. So let's take a quick look at Canvas. I'm going to pull that up. Okay, so this is what the class looks like. Many of you have probably already gone on here, seen the overview, the textbooks, all the general information about the class. There are those learning objectives I just went through. And then everything else is done through modules. And so each module starts with an overview, includes 1 or 2 lessons. You can see Module 1 has 1 lesson, Module 2 has 2 different lessons, and then there's 1 written assignment. And I see that all these dates are incorrect. I'm going to update those in the next day or two so that they will reflect the correct deadlines, which I've actually already emailed those deadlines to you. The first deadline for the course is Sunday, September 6th, so a week from today. And gosh, isn't Labor Day on the 7th? And so, yeah, if you need your Labor Day weekend and you turn it in Tuesday morning, that would be awesome. So, all right, let's just take a look at the overview. It kind of tells you a study, a reflect, and then the written assignment. And then you can, I don't know if you can see this here. I got to move that over. And then if you go to click on next, it'll take you directly to the lesson. And so you can read through this lesson. You can see it's not terribly long. Then we've got a chart for you to review. And then if you click on next, you get to the assignment. And you can see that you can download that written assignment table here to study. There's also a 4-minute video for you to watch called Want to Write Well, Learn to Write Badly. And I have actually adapted this video to my undergrad classes. It's a good video. And then using the table, the lesson, and the video, you're going to organize your reflections on those 3 in a 300-word essay. So just an essay that's a little bit longer than a page. And here are some questions that you might consider as you write. This is the only writing you'll do for this class. Everything else will have to do with revising and editing your own work. So you can use this assignment later on in the class for other exercises. You can use assignments that you're currently working on in other classes or that you've turned in previous classes. If you have nothing else, you could always use your assessment essay, although we hope that that will be a last resort. But once you complete that assignment, then you'll turn it in. And I think probably the way you turn it in is a little different on your screen than it is on mine. So then you can see, the next, this is the individual assignment. There's 2 individual assignments at the end. By the end of next week, I will email you. No. I'll send it through Canvas what your specific individual assignment is. And the first one's due week 3, and the second one is due week 6. And so that is, you can see, that assignment is actually due on September 20th. So you have several weeks to do it. And then I think if I hit next again, it'll take us to Module 2. So there's the overview, and that's basically how the class goes. You've got the overview, you've got the lessons, and then you've got the assignments. Okay? So just to give you an overview of what we're going to learn in this class, I've got this. I think if I open this, the link will work this way. I've got a Prezi overview. Prezi is kind of like PowerPoint. It's an online presentation board. And as you can see, I've got all 7 weeks as this is queuing up. All 7 weeks of the academic grading seminar right here. And then week 1 is a 300-word reflection essay that reflects on lesson 1. The following week, you're going to identify and paste 5 to 10 sentences, thoughts that do not follow the golden rule of clear writing, which is the next lesson that you'll read about. And then you'll basically revise these sentences to make them more clear and concise. And then the next week, you're going to create an outline of one of your essays in basic sentences, and then also complete individual assignment 1. Week 4, you'll use track changes to edit an essay to make it more persuasive by applying principles of association and logic. And then some students leave this out, but it's really important that you describe what you did and why. And so you'll turn that in. The following week, you'll practice APA style, and so you'll edit one of your pieces of writing to make sure it's in third person and compliant with APA style, and that your language is gender neutral, your voice is active voice, and you're properly acknowledging sources. Week 6, you'll use track changes to proofread an essay focusing on punctuation. And you'll also complete individual assignment 2. And then finally, the last week, you're going to submit a 2 to 4 page piece of academic writing that reflects everything you've learned. And there's a list of things that you will have learned or reviewed that you'll apply to this last piece of writing. So that's basically an overview of the entire class. Okay, so just a couple more general things. If we scroll down, I think it's over here. Okay, seminar resources. There's resources on how to use Canvas and other links to videos and websites. So go ahead and peruse this section when you have a chance. But the APA paper template is something you should download and hold on to. If you open it up, of course, everything has to be saved on my laptop. I don't know why, but my desktop crashed over the summer, so now I'm using my laptop, and some of these things are a little more complicated than they used to be. Okay, so, basically every assignment, I know it sounds silly for like an assignment where you have to paste 5 sentences into a Word doc, but every assignment needs to have the running head, the title page, the header, and then the next page is where you put the assignment. And then if you have references that were used for this particular assignment, you list those as well in APA format. So make sure you download a copy of this so that you have it and you can refer back to it. Okay, let me just clear things up a little bit. I'm going to move this back over. And I'm going to unmute now. And we still have 8 people in here, plus me. So now basically what we're going to do with the call is I'm going to thank you all for being here. If you have questions that you want to address with me one-on-one or within the group, that I will invite you to ask your questions. But before I do that, for those of you who are feeling like you're in a good place and you just want to go explore the course on your own, and if you have questions, you'll email me later, then I want to give you the opportunity to say goodbye and hang up before I address questions. Okay? Okay.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Good night. Thank you for everything. It was very, very useful.
Thank you for coming. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, Carrie Ann. Thank you.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks.